What's shaking, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Gardner Oat, founder and CEO of GEMS Intercontinental, an abbreviation for Gardner's English Mastery School Intercontinental, where we learn English the practical and conversational way. Well, I'm back again with another exciting episode on everyday conversations. To be very specific, today we'll be looking at phrases to use to keep a small talk conversation going. So without doing a lot of things, let's dive into it. The first phrase, here we go. How did you get into that? How did you get into that? This is an open-ended question that invites personal background or motivation, which tends to produce richer responses. Okay, you'll actually give them a chance to share more, right, and get deeper, okay, with their personal background or motivation, or what drives them. Okay, and you actually get to say this after they mention something they are doing. It could be a hobby, a job, a project that you're curious about. Okay, assuming you meet a friend or somebody new, right? Maybe at the railway station as you wait for your turn to get to the train, and you notice that they are having a basketball in their hand. Definitely you would want to inquire and get to know this other person, and in the middle of the conversation, then I am sure if you get to use this particular phrase, definitely they'll get to share more info, more personal background information or motivation that leads them to play basketball, or rather to love basketball as they love it. Okay, so definitely you need to say it after they mention something that they are doing or they love, right? A hobby, a job, a project, and that you are curious about. So remember to use a friendly tone all the time. Show curiosity in your voice. Pause slightly after how did you get into that, so that the person realizes you want more than a quick answer. Of course, definitely they'll have to do what we call a reflection and then eventually give you that answer. Let's get to the next phrase. Do you usually do that alone or with friends? This opens up the social context dimension, allowing the other person to talk about relationships, companions, not just the activity. If at all they love cycling, definitely they don't get to do it alone. They will give you, another perspective of their lives, and get to share more information about other people. So it allows them to talk about relationships, companions, and not just the activity. So you need to say this after they mention an activity, a hobby, a trip, or something they do. Okay, whenever you're having that chat or that information, remember to use a friendly and interested tone. You need to be very interested to know and understand. Okay, if they get to do this alone, right, or they get to do it with somebody special to them, so you don't want it to sound like an interrogation, but like a genuine conversation. Perfect. Let's get to the next phrase. That reminds me of something similar I tried once. This particular phrase creates a connection by relating personally. Okay, if you put yourself in their shoes, that means only means you're actually empathizing with this person. So the Me Too effect. Me too. Girls like to do that thing. Me too. When a friend of them shares some info or something insightful. So more. This Me Too moments, they build that perfect rapport, but you then shift the focus back so it doesn't become all about you. That is the disclaimer about this particular phrase. You really need to throw the ball back to the other side, okay, so that the focus doesn't get back to you. So that it doesn't become all about you. Remember, you were listening to the other person who was talking, and of course at some time you'll also need to share something about yourself. Then definitely you can dive in at that point. So you need to say, or rather use this phrase when something in their story triggers an association in your mind. Okay, maybe a similar activity, an environment, a feeling. Okay, they could mention something that you love doing as well. Maybe you love playing cards, you love playing poker, you love driving, or you love, going out, road trips, That shows that you are relating personally, and it gets to give the conversation a deeper meaning. So remember to use a pleasant and a very curious tone and make it genuine. It should not come out as being forced, After saying it, pause slightly to let them ask, "Oh, yeah? I mean, what was that like?" Do you also do that? I mean, they'll be like, "I know, right?" So just pause slightly so that they can be able to also, say something about what you just added to the conversation, and then later you will actually invite them to continue telling their story. Perfect. Let's get to the next phrase. "I have always wanted to try that. What's it like?" This particular phrase leverages curiosity and aspiration. So when you express, "I want to try that," you invite them to become the expert and share. And of course, I can guarantee you, everybody always wants to be the expert in any given context. If it were up to me, my goodness, I can guarantee you, I'll give you all the insights that you need to know about that particular topic of discussion that we are having at that point in time. So you need to use this phrase when they mention something that you haven't done or that seems new or unfamiliar to you, something shaky, something that is very new to you, okay, and you don't have accurate or more information about it. Definitely give them a chance to share, and I can guarantee you will witness the wonders or the magic that this particular phrase can do to a given conversation that you're trying to strike or have with this other person on the other end. So remember to use a friendly tone, a slight smile, and make eye contact. Okay? Make eye contact always if you're in person. So after the phrase, pause to let them respond, then ask a follow-up about their impression or experience. Perfect. Let's get to the next phrase. "That sounds fun. What made you decide to do it?" This digs into motivation, decision, far much, and it often reveals interesting personal stories and values. Okay, it always reveals interesting personal stories and values. You use this particular phrase right after they describe an activity. The other person describes an activity or event or choice. It could be traveling, a hobby. Then definitely you give them a chance. To share more insights. You dig into motivation and decision. Okay, and as I told you, at the end of the day, it gets to reveal interesting personal stories and values. So remember to use a friendly, positive tone whenever you're saying, or rather using this phrase. Begin with, "That sounds fun," with a slight smile. Then pause briefly and ask, "What made you decide to do it?" Of course, with genuine curiosity. I can guarantee you this particular phrase will do wonders for your conversations out here. Let's get to the next phrase. So, what's next for you with that? This moves the conversation forward into future plans, which is dynamic and gives them space to share aspirations. I can guarantee you. Excuse me. It's very dynamic. It gives them space to share their future aspirations, what they would want to, what they would want to go for, or rather achieve in the near future. And you need to use this phrase after they mention something ongoing. It could be a project, a goal, a hobby, rather than something completed. Assuming you met a student, they let you know that they are studying at maybe the Catholic University, Western Africa. They could be doing a course, maybe a 4-year course, and they are in third year, Then you throw in this particular phrase as a mentor, So what's next for you with that? And they will give you proper insight, then their future plans with this particular course, what they want to achieve with it, At the very end of the day, that is the intention of this particular phrase. Remember to use a warm, interested tone, a slight smile, and after you ask it, pause. Silence is very important whenever you're having a conversation, okay? You don't want to have a lot of filler words, okay, and just be here and there in the middle of a conversation that you're having that you're trying to have with somebody. So pause to give the other person time, and then eventually if they give you a response, you can actually follow up based on their response. quick example. How do you plan to achieve that? How do you plan to do that? Definitely, these are some of the killer phrases that you need to be using out here, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get to the next phrase. Do you usually spend your weekends doing that? I mean, this explores patterns or routines rather than one-off events, giving insight into lifestyle. I can guarantee you, it gives insight into lifestyle, which often invites a follow-up. Definitely, you need to have a follow-up question after that. I mean, do you usually spend your weekends doing that? They'll be like, no. So, I mean, what do you do? Tell me more, So you use this particular phrase when the person mentions an activity that might be regular, or you sense it could be part of their weekend or weekly vibe. Remember to always use a friendly, curious tone. Very important. Start with a small acknowledgement of what they just said, then ask the question. Most importantly, pause briefly. Right? Pause briefly. And before, of course, doing that, you pause to prompt reflection. Do you usually spend your weekends doing that? And then eventually they'll give you proper insight, more information on how they get to spend their weekends, and then pick up a few points from their response to build up the conversation. I can guarantee you can never go wrong. You can never find yourself having small talks, that are messed up out here, and having awkward, moments of silence in between, or rather mid conversations. Definitely. Let's get to the next phrase. That's such a good perspective. I had not thought of it that way. It acknowledges their idea or opinion. Definitely. It's like you have exalted them in a very beautiful way. And definitely it's complimentary, actually. And it also gets to build trust and emotional intelligence. People like to feel heard, and also that their point of view has been heard, and it matters. It really does. I know, ladies, you can agree with me on this one. I'm told there is a way ladies always want to be listened to, and as a gentleman, you need to master that art of listening to ladies every point in time, and just give them an assurance that their viewpoint, or rather their point of view, matters. So you need to use it right after someone shares a viewpoint, insight, or opinion that you had not considered. And trust me, this particular phrase is a tool for deepening conversations and showing emotional intelligence. It shows how mature you are in terms of emotional intelligence, and it gets to deepen the conversation. Most importantly, use a warm, sincere tone and a slight nod or a pause. And of course, if you want to spice up things, eye contact or an attentive posture will go a long way. So follow up with a curiosity question. Like, could you expand on that view? That's such a good perspective. I had not thought of it that way. Could you expand on that view? Definitely. Sit and wait as you watch magic unfold. Trust me, that is how you build beautiful, beautiful conversations out here. Let's get to the next phrase. That's interesting. Tell me more about that. That's so interesting. Tell me more about that. Use this particular phrase when someone has just made a statement or shared something that could lead to a story or more detail. I mean, this moves the talk from one sentence response to dialogue. That's a tip. I'm actually giving you a bonus tip. I think I'm actually done with the phrases for today. The ones that you're having right now are bonus phrases, right? So go with the flow. Okay? So this moves the talk from one sentence response to a dialogue. Okay? And after you say this, don't rush in with your own story. Give them time to fill the space. I mean, that's interesting. Tell me more about that. And keep quiet. Right? I told you, silence is power whenever you're having a conversation, okay? But not the awkward moments of silence that you people have whenever you're trying to have a chat. That is why I am here, to make sure that you get to learn English the practical and conversational way. So use a warm tone and let your voice show genuine interest. Slight pauses after saying that is so interesting, to let the other person process it. Then tell me more about that, so that they can be ready for that reflection, and then eventually give you more information about that. And you on your end, you should be ready for their elaboration. Give it a try. Actually, you can say it out aloud with me. That's interesting. Tell me more about that. Definitely. Let's get to the next phrase. What was the best part of your week so far? Use this particular phrase when meeting someone midweek. Remember, it has to be midweek. Don't just meet somebody on Sunday. Okay, definitely. It applies everywhere. You could meet somebody over the weekend and ask them how their week had been. You could meet somebody midweek, ask them about that at the end of the week. Definitely, anytime. This is another very, very wonderful phrase that you can use. Use it during casual chats, at work, social gatherings, or networking events. So as a conversation opener that feels natural and caring. Start a conversation with this particular phrase, and then from what they tell you, pick up a few points from what they tell you to build a conversation. That is how you do this in the world of language. So remember to use a friendly, curious tone, which should not be too formal. Smile and make eye contact. Always smile and make eye contact if you're face to face, and also emphasize the best part to sound genuinely curious about their good experiences. Always. Don't forget to do that. Let's get to the next phrase. I am curious about your perspective on ... When a topic arises where you want deeper insight or opinion, assuming you're having a chat over a cup of coffee, and the other person mentions something that catches your attention, and you seem not to be having accurate or proper information about the same, you'd be like, I'm curious about your perspective on gender-based violence, right? I'm curious about your perspective on law and order. Okay, give them a chance to share more insight and just inspire you. And you need to say it in a calm, open voice. Emphasize the word curious to show genuine interest. To show genuine interest, ladies and gentlemen, let me leave you with the last one as we wind up this segment. So the last phrase, that's interesting. That's interesting. Or that is interesting. Could you tell me how you got into that? After someone mentions a hobby, a job, or an unusual fact, then definitely you can throw in this hook, or this particular phrase, okay, and use a friendly tone, with a slight pause before could you, so that you can show a genuine interest. That's so interesting. Could you tell me how you got into that? That's how you do it, ladies and gentlemen. Up to that point, it has been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for making time for this lesson. I will see you on the other segment, and this is the very end. So thank you for staying till the end. Remember, this is James Intercontinental, an abbreviation for Gardner's English Mastery School Intercontinental, where we learn English the practical and conversational way. Until next time, see you in the next one. Bye bye.